I once asked Francis if he had ever considered, since he works in film and video, whether he had ever considered making a conventionally structured narrative film. And he replied, I am not a storyteller, except if you look at a story as a succession of episodes. But if I were to make a so-called more complete story, I would not start at the beginning or the end. I would need to work from some middle point, because the middle point, the in-between, is the space where I function the best. One of the works that is already visible out into, projected from above on a screen that hangs visible from the entrance space to the museum, and is thus, in a way, a good place to begin talking about the work that's in the exhibition, is the animation Song for Lupita from 1998. The action in this short work consists entirely of a woman pouring water from one glass to another and back again, like this. Alÿs has described this work as a kind of demonstration of a Mexican saying that is literally the doing but without doing it, the non-doing but doing it. And it stages a kind of resignation to an immediate present. The work is almost hypnotic in the end. The act itself becomes, when you look at it for a while, it becomes almost hypnotic as the water flows back and forward, and it's accompanied by a very simple melody as well. An act that is, the act itself becomes pure, almost literally pure flux, without a beginning and without an end. It relates to other very simple videos that he has made, such as Perro Pelota, which is basically throwing a ball for a dog that retrieves it and brings it back, and the ball is thrown again, and the dog retrieves it, and the ball is thrown again, and the dog retrieves it. That's obviously, you know, something that can continue indefinitely. And in another of the videos included in the exhibition, Caracoles, it shows a young boy kicking an empty bottle, plastic bottle, up a very steep street and letting it roll back to him. And again, you know, the process continues inevitably. No matter how often the boy kicks the empty bottle up the street, it will always roll back down again. But this idea can be expressed not only in video work. Also included in the exhibition is a work called Déjà Vu. Concept of déjà vu, of course, relates to this idea of repetition and is another important concept in Francis's work. Déjà vu in this incarnation consists of a painting and an exact copy of that painting installed separately in separate spaces in the exhibition, so that the viewer, in a way I'm giving away the effect of this work, but I think you can still experience it for yourself, in that you come across the painting at one stage in the exhibition, you see it, you look at it, and you move on, and then you unexpectedly come across what at first appears to be the same painting again later in the exhibition, which I think for me and many other viewers produces a kind of almost uncanny, disturbing effect, where I compare it to the effect where sometimes when you go down a staircase and you, in your mind, you misjudge the number of steps and you take one too few or one too many steps down the staircase, and you experience a kind of turning over, in physical turning over. And I think that's the effect sometimes that coming across this strange second incarnation of the painting can produce too. And also, of course, contained within that idea is that, you know, is there possibly a third painting? You know, I mean, how many times are you going to see this painting? Some of this work is fairly evidently having a political element to it, and some of it does not, at least not on the surface. All of the work, however, is informed by a broad interest that Francis has in the repeated attempts to impose a northern concept of modernity on Latin America. When Harry Truman gave an inauguration speech when he became President of the United States in 1949, he announced that he would, quote, embark on a bold new program for making the benefits of our scientific advances and industrial progress available for the improvement and growth of undeveloped areas. In some ways, it was a version of that impulse, a kind of sincere version of it that led Francis to move to Mexico in the first place. Before he became an artist, he was trained as an architect, and he came from Belgium, the country where he was born, to work in Mexico on reconstruction projects, in other words, echoing the claim made by Truman that the benefits of more developed countries were going to be made available to the whole world. And, we both know, we all know that there is a bitter aftertaste to that idea of the United States or any other country bestowing the benefits of its civilization on another country. But there is also an element, a kind of kernel contained within that, where the idea can be taken unironically, and also within the countries who are having this modernity exported to them, there is both the desire for modernity and there are also the resistances to this modernity. That modality is something that Alÿs has become increasingly interested in exploring, and of course he himself never moved back to Europe. He has remained in Mexico pretty much ever since for well over 20 years now. The ideas of modernity, the idea that you can modernize body and soul, that efficiency, productivity, all of these ideas become internalized not only as a requirement for industrial growth, but also as an almost spiritual or moral value attached to them. The idea of economic growth and development on the North American model becomes almost an article of faith that at least certain sectors of society are committed to, in not just in economic terms, but also in moral or ethical terms. But of course that raises many questions, and one of the best writers about Francis's work is Cuauhtemoc Medina, and one of the things I want to quote Medina on this question. He says that southern countries' economies are the constant expression of failed modernization. It is no accident that they seem to be under the curse of an eternal return, to start a process of development over again every 5 or 10 years and leave it incomplete after coming across new obstacles. When this happens in conditions of inequality, degradation, and coercion, the economy never manages to gain ground. There are more than enough reasons. The wounds left by exploitation make it impossible for people to believe in an ethics of work, and the neo-colonial extraction of wealth does not generate markets activated by the seduction of consumerism. Not to mention that northern capital and investment actually find the periodic breakdowns quite profitable. This context, social, political, economic, and psychological, underlies and informs the whole structure of repetition and rehearsal within which Francis works. Against the dogma of modernity, progress, and efficiency, he has placed anecdotes, gestures, and parables. In this context, the pouring back and forth of the water in Song for Lupita can be, as Alÿs himself has described it, a reflection on the struggle against the pressures of being productive.